Hey, everybody. I wanted to do a year-end summary of some of the key lessons that I learned or expanded on this year in doing the podcast. This was the 10th year I've been involved in doing the podcast in some form or another. And this year was probably the most advanced in that being able to articulate the real differences that I saw between great salespeople and good salespeople. So let's get into the list. The number one thing is that sales is a performance profession. What does that mean? It means that not only what you do, but how you do it. Much like a sport, much like any performing art. And this gets overlooked, and people just say, oh, I know it. And knowing it is part of it. But doing it and how you do it is the differentiator in sales. And a lot of people misunderstand this. Oh, well, I don't mean go and sing and dance and being so charming and stuff. What I do mean is how well you're able to communicate the idea, much like what I'm doing here. I can say the words, but for you to understand them, I have to give you examples, analogies, stories, lots of examples so you can see the difference. Now think about like a pitcher. Pretty much anyone can throw a ball, but very few people can get it past the batter and in the strike zone repeatedly. And that's what we do in sales. We are constantly performing. And too often we fall into the B player trap, which is thinking that just because we did it well. Even the simplest things like email. It really depends how you do it. A few words or an additional sentence can ruin the email for you. And this is very hard to articulate because people don't want to think that their performance is something that differentiates them unless it's good. So they tend to just get comfortable that they're performing well or they're doing the same thing as the person who's getting fantastic results. The difference is, in their mind, luck. Well, luck can be an element. It's always an element. Timing, situation, who gets the great account, the great lead, the most amount of help. All of those things play a role in it, but the performance of it repeatedly over time is going to differentiate you. I'll give you another example. I was doing these videos on LinkedIn, and I started off just giving tips and ideas and insights. And people would argue mostly with them, especially all the experts. But once I started giving it in a comic format where I was poking fun at it, doing little vignettes and stringing them together, that people really connected with it because they wanted more entertainment with their information than just information. And then there was several examples. So the performance there was a 10, 20x incremental improvement in my effectiveness. Now, I should have known that, right? But it took a long time. I've been doing videos on LinkedIn for a couple years, been doing on YouTube for almost 10 years, and I should have known, right? But it took forever for me to figure that out. So think about performance as much as knowledge in sales. I'd say it's probably the 80% that will get you the results that you want. It's 80% performance versus 20% just knowing what to do. How well you do it. How well do you communicate? How well do you make eye contact? How well do you listen? And all of a sudden, you start to really see it because this is the differentiator. Because when I talk to salespeople, they never ask, how should I do it? They ask me, what should I do? And you tell them, and they always say the same thing, I did that. And it's like, yes, you did that, but how well did you do that? The results tell us how well we do it. And if you think about that, that the marketplace is our feedback. So number one this year was really performance. Sales is a performance profession. Number two is the outward mindset. Now, throughout my career, I always viewed this as just giving. Be the person that helps the most, that gives the most, that extends themselves the most, goes deeper and broader into accounts. And that wasn't wrong. It was just a little incomplete. And I had a great interview earlier in 2019 about this, about the outward mindset. It's the ability to think like somebody else, to be considerate of their situation, their needs. It's empathy, it's listening, it's curiosity. And this is an advanced skill, and a skill that very few of us as salespeople are good at because it's counterintuitive. We all think we're good at it until we look at the results where the other person rolls their eyes, just wants to get rid of us, and we don't understand what the other person really wants. This outward mindset was probably at the level of an epiphany in that it uh, put together a bunch of things that I knew were really good. We all know listening is critical in sales, curiosity is critical in sales, empathy is critical, but we don't really package them together in anything. So I highly encourage you to go out and learn as much as you can about the outward mindset, and start building that into your process, because it becomes a superpower in sales. It becomes the avenue, the lever to learn what will work in sales today. Because without it, we're thinking about ourselves. And that comes across implicitly. And it really stands in the way of what we want and what we need to be successful in sales. So the outward mindset, curiosity, listening, and empathy, putting yourself in the other person's place, thinking like a client instead of a sales rep. Now, that was one of my big quotes throughout my whole career, but it's hard. It's another one of those things where you know it, but are you doing it? And when I ask reps, I go, "What do you think they're going to do?" I don't know, because you're not thinking like them. Why are they asking that question? Why are they not responding to you? What do they really need? How do they get reviewed? How do they get bonused? How do they get incentivized? How do they get punished? Thinking like the other person will teach you how to sell to that person. So the outward mindset coming together as a full concept was a great epiphany for me this year. Of course, we all know the elements, but we don't really package it together and characterize it and think through it as part of our process. Number three was I've been on a mission to make sales great again. Sales was great when I got into it, and certainly in the last 10 years, it is diminished quite a bit. The accountants have taken over. You can blame this on certain products, dashboards, but I think that's an excuse. The real thing is bad sales management. People who have gotten into sales looking at it like a pure science. It's not. Sorry, we sell to people. As long as we're selling to people, nothing's going to be a science. AI can help us. AI can analyze data and give us information, but it should not be making decisions. It should only be a reference point, a helpful one that can analyze more data and correlate it to other data and maybe give us some information that we wouldn't have otherwise. Get that. But to call that intelligence, let's stick with the number one thing. Sales is a human to human experience, which leads into one of my next ones. And the further we move away from that, the less effective we're going to be. We both managing and selling. Managers today don't want to talk to reps. They want to look through their dashboard. They want to measure reps based off of KPIs instead of revenue and effectiveness. They don't want to analyze a deal. They don't give reps any time to think, because the superpowers of selling are judgment, prioritization, and focus. And you can't do that if you're just too busy. So a lot of the stuff that I put out on LinkedIn that I make fun of is trying to make sales great again by let's get back to talking to reps. Let's get back to hearing reps. Let's get back to reviewing deals. Let's get back to the performance of selling instead of the statistics of selling. We're not selling to personas. They're people. They're people who do not want to be treated like a persona. So making sales great again has been a mission. And all I ask for you is to help spread the word that will help us get sales back to where it was. Every great salesperson that I interviewed this year says the same thing, that thinking, that judgment, focus, prioritization was the differentiator. It wasn't hustling and grinding. Everyone works hard, but as humans, hard work does not scale. We only have 24 hours in a day, and we can only hit the cadence button so fast. And the person on the other end is sick of hearing from us. They want to connect, they want to engage, they want to talk about what they care about. Outward mindset. You get that? See, you see a pattern here? It's a little bit of compounding we got going on. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, the next one is focus. Every rep, that was a superpower, knowing what to focus on and what to prioritize on. And this is a judgment skill. This is something that takes experience. And we've moved away from this. We've moved to the quantity over the quality. And sales is a quality profession, especially the higher the ticket items. We only get comped on the sales that we close. And if we don't close them, it is just an exercise. There's nothing, might be some lessons, but all that matters is the deals that we close. We're focusing on too many things that won't close. We're trying to build pipeline so somebody can manage pipeline. Marketing is trying to get us contacts and not leads. We need leads. We need people who have raised their hand and have expressed some interest or curiosity that they feel the pain that we cure. And this has been overlooked too much. We've swung the pendulum so far the other way to unfocused. People come in and they've got 50, 100 task items. And out of that, what? One will be interested in? How about spending, 15, 20 minutes, cut that down to 25, put a little bit more effort into what they care about, and all of a sudden you might get 5 or 10. The amount of meetings that people are getting for the amount of effort is insane. This is why I start the conversation, get the meeting, to teach people how strangers want to be communicated with. Now, this brings me to my next one, and probably the most important, was that we are mammals. And all the sales stuff that you see out there is all about talking to the conscious mind, the conscious professional mind, talking about insights and value propositions and elevator pitches. Now, this is all good at the right time and they're under the right situation once rapport is being built. But what we're forgetting is we're selling to people, and people are mammals. And if you start thinking about them as mammals, all the value propositions, inside stuff no longer makes sense because they see you as a stranger. You are outside the tribe. You're not inside the tribe. They don't know, like, or trust you. And you think that your compelling whatever is going to be so interesting that it's going to convert them. And 1 out of 100 times it is. And that gives you the false positive that all you have to do is find that 1 out of 100. That's one way of doing it. Another way to do it is to build the know, like, and trust like a mammal does. And to do that is a skill, it's an ability, it's a performance. And it's not taught because we don't see other people as mammals. We see them as personas. It's my job to sell, it's your job to buy. Sit still and listen to my insight, value proposition, elevator pitch, question, whatever it is. But without rapport, they don't believe you. You are a human commercial. You are a voice bot. You are a video bot. You are not connecting with them as a human being. And we've trying to erase this, and it's not working because it's unerasable. Human beings have been around for, science says anywhere from 100,000 to 200,000 years. we've had to work with strangers for less than 1,000 years, less than 100 years. What we've always had is these tribes. This is ingrained in us. This is not going to change in our lifetime. So that 100 years, 1/1000th of the existence of human beings, our brains have not evolved that way. If we don't know you, we don't trust you. And if we don't trust you, we do not believe you. If we do not believe you, anything you say is taken as a lie. Now, this is an epiphany that each of us must learn because it explains why what we're doing isn't working. And we got to come up with a smarter way to do it, not a faster way to do dumb things. And that's what we've done. We've tried to take technology and take a dumb thing that works 1 out of 100 times and be able to do it 1,000, 10,000 times a day. So you get 10 of them. The problem is it burns out. You get the the problem with the pyramid schemes. At some point, you run out of number of people to do it with because it grows exponentially. What we have to do is go back to what does work with mammals. Mammals are open and want to connect with other mammals, but we have to find that commonality, that interest point, and that outward mindset to connect with them. And some of us are better than others at doing this. This is a skill. It is a performance. All communication is a performance. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And if you don't believe me, go and try and tell a Chris Rock joke to your friends. It'll fall flat. It takes him a year on the road to get that joke just right. And it's not just the words, it's the facial expression, it's the timing, it's the context, it's the buildup, it's the delays that he puts in. And we don't want to think about that because in school, for what, 12, 16 years, we took a test, which is not a performance. That's, you either know the answer, you don't know the answer, or you're guessing at the answer. And the problem with that is that we think that's the way the real world is. Part of it might be, science might be, but we're selling to human beings. And everyone say just personalize and make it relevant. That helps, but it's not enough. Clearly, it's not enough. If it was, those people would be billionaires today. The people who connect are the people who understand we're selling to mammals. And we got to remember that. We got to build it into our process, into our thinking, into our mindset. So those were the 5 things. Sales is a performance profession, the outward mindset. Let's make sales great again. Focus is your superpower. Focus, judgment, prioritization. Not, that's the number. When I talk about Price's Law, meaning that the square root of the number of deals will generate half of your revenue. The square root of the number of salespeople will generate the total number of revenue. Much like Pareto's principle, where 20% of the deals will generate 80% of your revenue. Now, everybody kind of believes this, but we don't manage to it. We don't spend our day on the 20%. We spend our day on the 80%, and we wonder why we're missing it. Prioritization, judgment, and focus. And remember that we're selling to mammals. I hope you enjoyed this little summary of the year. Go back, listen to the interviews. I keep them all up there. They're on YouTube as well. And I appreciate everybody listening.